So let me kind of land the plane from Star Trek, since that might have seemed a little far out there. I want to ground us in some research before we talk about, or before we hear from the panelists. Talking about wearable technologies, the Harris Poll recently did a study among US adults, and there was some good news and some bad news. The good news is that overall, nearly half of Americans are at least a little interested in owning a watch or wristband type wearable tech device. 46% of Americans are at least a little interested. The bad news is that roughly the same number believe that wearable tech is just a fad and that it is not likely to become common the way smartphones have. And 47% don't believe that wearable tech could be useful for their lives. Now that syncs with research that was conducted by the Consumer Electronics Association, this kind of niche status of wearables. They did a study again of US adults, and again, good news, ownership of dedicated wearable fitness devices tripled from 2012 to 2013, but that's from 3% to 9%. So we still are talking about a pretty small percentage. And what was interesting is that daily usage of these wearable devices is lowest among devices with the highest penetration. So pedometer ownership is at 37%, but only 27% of those people use it daily. Same thing, heart rate monitor ownership is at 20%, but only a quarter of those people use it daily. So what's an aspiring wearable tech company to do to attract buyers and then to get them to continue to use their products? That's what this panel is all about. So I would like to give each of the panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves, their companies, and their products. So
Dave Monahan, CEO of Fitlinxx. Just a quick background on us. Think of us as an enterprise health and fitness technology company. We supply technology to other companies, and we embed it inside other solutions. So very much like what's been said a few times here is we believe it's got to be seamless and part of people's lifestyle. It's got to be in the background. And I'd ask you how many devices do I currently have on, and the answer is 5, although you might not see any of them. They're on my body, and that's what we believe is this category needs to become invisible for it to be mass market. And what we do is we work with healthcare insurers, healthcare providers, consumer application providers, wellness providers, and we embed our technology inside their solutions so the user experience is with the brand that they're interacting with from a health perspective or a wellness perspective or a fitness perspective. You won't hear about Fitlinxx. I always say we're the most popular wearables company that nobody knows about.
Great, well thanks for those introductions. And actually, I first wanted to talk about something that Dave, you said, and I'm wondering how many of the panelists would agree with you on. So the question I have is about this invisibility point. Should wearable tech be visible, kind of designed and worn as a fashion statement, or should it be invisible, seamless, kind of integrated so that no one knows that you're wearing it?
I'm going to go a little bit different direction. I think there's 2 markets. I think there's one market which is more about status symbol, and I want to show off what I have. And you see that in a lot of technology and fashion and jewelry sort of markets. And you know, if you look at currently the people who've adopted these products skew higher income, higher quantified selfers, more tech adopters. What we're seeing, we like I said, we focus a lot on healthcare providers, insurers, wellness providers. Most people can't afford these types of products. They also want it to disappear from their lives. They're not trying to show off that they're obese or they have diabetes or they have high blood pressure or hypertension. They want to do it discreetly. And so I think, I think there's 2 markets. I think there's one market where people want it as a status symbol. I think there's another market where people want it just integrated into their lifestyle.
Interesting. Dave, I want to pick up on the point that you just made about markets. And one of the things that strikes me is that this question about visible versus not, or fashionable versus function, is changing as these devices are becoming more mainstream. The needs and desires of the early adopters may be very different from the mainstream consumer. So the question I have is, how do we engage the mainstream consumer with these wearable devices? And does visibility or invisibility help or hurt that?
Yeah, so what we've seen is there's 3 primary things you need to get right for large adoption. And when we do deployments across 50,000 populations, those types of things, 10,000, 50,000. We even have one that's 100,000. And what you see in the broad population, so there's people to the right and to the left of this, but I'm talking sort of what the middle of the bell curve is looking for. I think there's three things. Does it fit in my lifestyle? So can it just become part of me, and it's not an extra burden for me to use this product? And can I blend it in with my lifestyle and not think about it? The second one is it relevant? We integrate, like I said, we integrate completely and natively and seamlessly into partners' applications. So you're engaging with Spark People is one of our application providers here. You engage with the Spark People brand, or you engage with the healthcare provider, and that's your experience. So, and their program is something tailored to you. So I might be dealing with obesity or diabetes, whatever. That's what's relevant to me. It's not the product. It's not the device. The device is a means to an end. It's just, is this program relevant to me? And it has lots of things outside of a device. There's lots of things that are including behavioral change, which is probably the most important component of it. And then the third piece, which we think is really important, is affordability. So when you are deploying things to 50,000 people in a population, price makes a big difference. So again, relevance, lifestyle integration, and affordability, we think are the three most important.
Are there specific developments in wireless that you think are particularly important?
Bluetooth low energy, or 4.0, to me is a breakthrough, so that anybody can offload through a smartphone or a mobile device, or in a lot of cases now even PCs and laptops. So to me, that we're finally getting into a standardization of wireless where it's on every device out there, and these devices now can talk through devices that people already own. That to me is very important, probably the most important breakthrough. If I would ask for one more breakthrough, so I think Apple has it right, on the Android side it's a bit of a mess, and it's lots of different standards out there on how it's deployed. So a standardization on Android would be a very big breakthrough for the market.
Technologies.
And if I could just jump in there, because I think they're interrelated. I think the wireless and battery technology, I think they've reached the end of physics on it right now. And maybe somebody's going to get a breakthrough somewhere down the road, but it's going to be a while before something comes. I think what's interesting is some of these wireless technologies, and we, in our company actually, next to sensors and ability to monitor things like activity, our next expertise are probably as good as expertise as wireless, and a low power efficient wireless, and being able to get data off devices through mobile devices and not impacting either the battery life of the device very much or what's collecting the data. So I would say this group and all wearables need to have an expertise around low power wireless.
Mm-hmm. Do any of you currently or could see yourselves in the future hiring a fashion designer, jewelry designer, someone from that world as a consultant to help you? I mean, that seems to be a great way to tap into their expertise. I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
Given my position, we won't be doing that, but we will be enabling other companies who might want to do that. So we're really focused on the technology itself and making the technology embeddable inside other types of devices, and I see our partners investing on the design side, not us.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Okay, I have one more question for these guys, but then we'll open it up for questions from you all. So if you want to kind of be thinking about if there's a question you have, let me ask, I'm curious as to where you think the next wearable tech is going to come from. Is it going to come from a large technology company, maybe a health and fitness digital startup, a CE company, sporting goods brand, fashion brand? Just if you could look into a crystal ball, where do you think it's going to come from and why? What do you think? What does that particular type of company bring to the party that others might not?
To answer the question sort of bluntly, as far as where is it going to come from, it's going to come from Apple.
You heard it here.
I mean, they're looking to the space, obviously. I mean, everybody knows in this room. But there's, for me, the feedback, I think it's going to come from every group you talked about. I think to be successful, though, you got to do something different. And I've had the saying for a long time. I heard it early in my career, which is don't get too close to the sun. So I would expect the big guys to be coming out with something that's going to be sort of the common denominator in this, but then there'll be other sensors communicating through those sort of common denominator products, much like right now we go through the mobile device.
Hi. So shipping hardware is hard, right? There's lots of things, lots of challenges. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've encountered, and how have you overcome them?
If Since you're looking at me, I'll quickly respond. Early on, we've been in the space for a long time. We've been in it over 10 years. Early on, it was the quality control of devices and hardware and software and getting it all work together and doing it in a way that you have high yield rates and low defects in the field. It's a hurdle to make them low cost, high volume, and doing everything you want them to do. And I think this probably, I don't know for sure about everyone in this panel, but I assume these products are pretty much all coming out of China and managing the whole supply chain. That to me was the most challenging thing. That was 8 or 9 years ago we dealt with that, but that was a big challenge.
Great. Well, Ruth, Dave, Jason, Isaiah, Jeff, thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause.